Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nature Photo Guys podcast. We got a pretty cool episode today. It's a first for us, over the last, couple of years, so a year and a half, I guess. We're coming up on 2 years, June, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Cool.
Geez, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So it's going to be cool. We're going to start interviewing guests. We figured that was kind of the next step for this channel and this podcast. Mm-hmm. And, in the beginning, we're going to concentrate on nature photographers. And then we'll see where it takes us, right? So pretty excited about it. But before we get into that and we, bring on our guest, anything new, Chris? What's been happening in the last few weeks? I know you've been really busy with your real estate work. Yeah,
real estate work's really picked up. I mean, the Calgary market is absolutely crazy right now. Homes are going for, 100,000 plus over the asking price. So, agents are super busy, but it's still kind of brown out there right now, And unfortunately, we just got a big chunk of snow here that fell this past weekend, and it's really cold again.
So are you actually doing any of the recording outside too, or is it pretty much inside?
No, we do outside too. Yeah. Out exterior homes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And for example, if we're doing an apartment, I'm running around to getting shots of the Stampede ground and 17th Avenue and kind of location type shots as well. If you're
to show kind of the area where the place is at.
That's right. Yeah. So
that's cool.
There's been times I'm out there, trying to stay as warm as possible and not letting the gear freeze and going inside, outside, and obviously that plays havoc with our lenses and gear, right? So it's good. It's been good though, but yeah, hopefully it'll warm up here and we can get back out there.
Well, this weekend coming up, it's supposed to get pretty warm.
Is it? Oh, good. Yeah.
Again, because it was minus 30 today with the wind chill, and then I think by Thursday, Friday it's going to be plus 4. Nice. Again, it just wreaks havoc on your body. I mean, the pressure headaches, with the Chinooks and, now it's cold and now
you can feel it in your bones, right?
And, and relating to nature photography, there's certain landscape images that I've been waiting to get over the last month or so.
Okay.
And I'm waiting for that snowfall.
Oh,
to get the nice pillowy softs, how do you say that? Undisturbed foregrounds and stuff, not like a million, footprints and all this kind of stuff. But, every time it snowed, it got warm. And then, the last couple times I went out there, it was kind of yuck. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much brown and too much of that, happening. And again, look at this. Got a decent snowfall this weekend. Yeah.
Going to get all slushy and everything again, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, so, but it's all good. So,
what have you been up to though? You've been, have you been doing some fishing? I saw.
Yeah. I really like to ice fish. So I've been out, I think 5 times already this year.
Oh, good for you. Yeah.
Primarily pike right now, but I'll be heading out to the mountains there soon. And hitting a couple of different other lakes for pike, but I want to get out to west for, some trout and that kind of thing too. Right.
Oh, so yeah, that's a good plan.
But it's a great way to, just, kind of chill, not think about a whole lot, relax out under the ice, have the sun in your face, and, if it's too cold, pop up your shack there and go inside and chill and,
there you go.
Make some food or something like that. Right. So
absolutely.
I know I've been waiting to get you out ice fishing. I know that's something you've never done.
I haven't done. No, not ice fishing. No. That's for sure. So
have you fished at all?
Oh yeah. We used to fish when I was
just
younger.
The ice fishing thing,
right?
Just
the ice fishing thing. Yeah. So I honestly haven't fished very much over the last, city slicker here, but I haven't fished very much over the last, number of years. But when I was a kid, I used to fish all the time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So something fun to do, till spring and, fly fisherman too. So I enjoy getting out in the boat and stuff. It's just this kind of, passes the time and it's not too intense, right? So.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Kind of mindless, takes you away, right? So
from
your
just
day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's it. 3 or 4 hours on the ice, and yeah.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much what I've been doing the last couple of weeks. But just before we get into our guest interview, let's just give them a shout out, or let's give a shout out to your media company. So it's Gibbs Media.
Oh, Gibbs Media. Thank you.
Yeah. So Gibbs Media, and that's where you can see all of your video work, right?
Yeah, I got a YouTube page as well. So youtube.com/Gibbs Media. You'll see all my real estate stuff. So
yeah. So just in case anybody's interested in stuff. So,
yeah,
okay, cool.
Sure. Yeah. So
Chris, how about we get to our first guest?
Sounds like a plan.
Our first guest ever on the podcast is Mr. Shane Turjon. And Shane, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. I'm actually really honored to be your first guest. It's
awesome.
I really enjoy your podcast and your YouTube series. So being your first guest is pretty thrilling. I'm happy to be here.
Very cool. Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. So I guess what we're going to do today is, this is new to Chris and I. So we're just, we got some questions we got written down here that we're going to ask, but I think we're just going to kind of go with the flow and see where it takes us. So
have a conversation.
Shane,
sounds good to me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Well, I like long walks on the beach. And, my name is Shane Turjon. I'm 44 years old. I'm as my friend likes to describe me, a multi-industry entrepreneur. So I have multiple businesses in multiple industries, and photography is, it is something that I do make a little bit of money off of, but it's more of a deep passion, which is, nature photography and getting out and doing all kinds of stuff in the landscape and everything like that. So photography is taking up a big part of my life, but it's not all my life. I have to focus on all the other businesses and stuff as well too. So,
which are what I mean, you can see behind you, there's an absolutely insane collection. So I'm assuming that's part of it too.
Yeah, I've been a toy and comic book dealer a collector for 31 years, I guess, and a dealer for well over 20. I put on the Edmonton Collector Con. I've been putting on toy and comic book shows in Edmonton for 20 years. So it started as the Edmonton Collectible Toy and Comic Show, which then I turned into and co-founded the Edmonton Expo, which was the sister show of the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo. And then in the middle of that, I went back to my roots because all I ever wanted to do was just run a toy and comic book show, no guests, no any of that other stuff. And so in 2014, I started the Edmonton Collector Con, and we'd run that 3 times a year.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's one of them. I also own a tattoo shop here in Edmonton called Shades of Gray. We're coming into our 12th year. I am not a tattoo artist, but I've been.
That was my next question. Yeah.
I've been in and around the industry for well over 20 years. And I'm the author of the Force in the Flesh, Star Wars inspired body art coffee table books on Star Wars tattoos. And we have 2 volumes of that book that started coming out in 2007.
Wow,
that's awesome.
So I've had my hands full with a lot of different things over the years. And I also have a small toy distribution business now where I handle distribution for a company called Super 7. They're a big toy company in the States, and I handle some of their Canadian distribution.
That's crazy. Wow, so about awesome. The books, holy crap. Is there like a separate website for that?
theforceintheflesh.com. That's where people can get the second volume of the book. The first volume is long out of print. So.
Okay, excellent.
Nice.
So
okay.
we'll throw a link down below, guys, in the description for sure. So
it's kind of actually surreal for me to actually be talking to you because, years and years ago, let's say 15, 20 years ago, I used to hear about this guy, this toy collector, this guy that's got all these tattoos and all about Star Wars. And, my brother-in-law, Paul, used to work with you years ago, right? So I used to hear about you all the time. And now it's pretty neat talking to you. So
yeah, here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Well, just a little side note there. My daughter is a big cosplayer. So she's actually gone up to the Edmonton Expo and competed there too, right? So, I mean, she does it every year in Calgary, but, and she's kind of a collector of, I don't know, Zelda and all this other stuff that I don't even understand anymore. It's like, nice. With all the games and stuff, all I know is her walls are just like yours. They're not in glass cabinets. They're all like IKEA shelves and stuff. And there's not like I don't even know what the color of the wall is, right? You know what I mean? There's just so
covered.
much stuff, right? But
Too funny.
so no, that's pretty cool. I'll let her know about that. That our first guest is, one of the co-founders of that stuff up there. So I think she'll think that's pretty cool. So
yeah, love that pop culture life, and it seems to be a lot more popular than it ever has been, which is really cool to see. So
every year it's getting crazier, right? Like it's just so many people involved. Like 10 years ago, or more, people didn't even know what cosplay was. Now you mention cosplay, it's just like, oh yeah, my so-and-so does. Oh yeah, so-and-so does. Like everybody's seems to be getting involved, right? So it's pretty cool. It's a really cool thing. So
my niece actually came for a visit, and she was dressed in cosplay. She was coming we're going to go out for lunch with her. So okay, well, it's different. I don't know too much about it. We were walking around the mall with her, and the amount of people that were stopping her just to take her picture was unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's just everyday dress, right? Because my daughter, when she first started doing a cosplay, she would just wear it just for the sake of wearing it.
Sure.
I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, well, I don't know. I just feel like dressing up as, I don't know, Zelda today or something, or, and just awesome. Going, right? It's like, hey, okay, cool. So it's awesome. I mean, kids are doing what they want to do, and there's, it doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's almost normal, just to see that kind of stuff now, right? So
yeah, I mean the fact that we as grown-ups can continue to pursue the passions that we're supposed to get rid of as children, I think is pretty amazing, because we need, and that's part of the thing. We'll get back into it, I'm sure, but with nature photography too, is a lot of times as we get older and older, we lose that sense of imagination and we lose that sense of wonder. And as photographers, we rediscover that. And as people who love pop culture, we continue to love that and everything. So it does actually kind of fit hand in hand of just staying young at heart and staying open to the possibilities of what we see when we're out in the landscape, and just, feeling good about being a kid and keeping that youthful spirit alive.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I like taking somebody out that's never really used a DSLR or mirrorless, a camera, and they've only ever used their phone. And to see the excitement there, that kind of brings me back. Like it kind of gives you a boost again. Like just like, oh wow, yeah, I never would have saw this if I never did that. Like like you said, you're just a renewed enthusiasm for it, right? So because after all these years of doing the photography, you can get pretty stale, or you can get kind of, I don't know, bored, or just whatever it is, right? So,
especially with how old you are, Joe. So,
yeah.
So Shane, speaking of iPhone, from what I understand, that's kind of how you got started in photography. You picked up your iPhone, you were taking pictures.
It is, yeah. My interest in photography came from a pretty prolonged period of depression, where things were just, I had a number of events kind of happen in very short order, that any one of those for people is a life-changing and serious mental health event. And I had a series of them, one right after another, and it just kind of took me out, and fell into a really, really, really bad place. Really bad place. And just trying to, get out of that and find a way to like get up every morning and be thankful and to find just an ounce of joy in a day. It first started coming from my dogs. My dogs I had to get up. And feed the dogs. Right. Had to get up, had to take them for their WALK. I don't want to say that too loud. She hears and she comes bawling down the stairs.
Yeah.
But, taking them out. And when I was out, I just kind of started to feel this connection to nature again.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be back in my house, because my house felt oppressive and closed in, and being out in nature and recognizing, I like the way that this smells. Oh, I love the way that the water sounds when it's flowing. I love seeing the bees and the flowers. I love watching the sunset. For me, as I grew up originally at the end of a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan. So the stars were always, a place just to reset. And, I just started kind of taking pictures of all of these things with my old iPhone 4. And, I came from a television background, so I understood composition. I understood angles and basic framing and all that sort of stuff. And I just started sharing those pictures on my social media accounts. And a friend of mine challenged me, and he's just like, man, imagine what you could do with a real camera.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I had sold a few assets, and I got a good amount of money for them. And another friend of mine's a very, very successful commercial photographer, advertising photographer in Western Canada, Curtis Como. And he's like, cool, man, if you're serious and you want to do this, I'm going to tell you what to buy.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he went and set me up with a 1DX and a 2470 and a 1635. And he's like, that's all you need to start. And he gave me a crash course on the exposure triangle, and he was just like, go. And I went from an iPhone 4 to a 1DX, having never touched it.
That's quite the jump. Holy crap.
And then I taught myself with night photography. I went way backwards.
Wow.
What the hell?
Figured out night, because that was where my primary interest was. Because like I could take a picture of the sunset with my iPhone, but I can't take a picture of the stars with my iPhone.
Yeah.
So I really, night photography was the thing that interested me the most, and so I just started taking myself out into fields in the middle of December and learning night photography. And then I kind of learned backwards. So I had to like retrace my steps to actually, do landscapes properly, because you shoot night skies at 2.8. Why wouldn't you shoot landscapes at 2.8?
Why is the foreground all out of focus? How come all this is? Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So, but I'm primarily self-taught. Thankfully, I've met some really great people along the way and become really good friends with them and picked up tricks here and there. But
yeah, you bet.
I'm primarily a self-taught photographer, and it came out of that pain of depression. And I always say that, like, hard life makes good art.
Oh, cool. No, that's I've never heard that before. So
yeah, whether it's music or painting or whatever,
any of the creative stuff. Yeah.
Sure. It's channeling all that anguish and that angst and that grief and that pain that we're feeling inside of ourselves to create something beautiful from it.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So that's amazing, man. So how long ago was that? Like, I don't think, from what I've read, I mean, you haven't been like a photographer for 30 years or something like that. I got my camera at the end of 2015. So 2016. So I guess 6 years now. Wow. That's a very short journey, as far as a lot of the established photographers go, right? Because I would never have thought that looking at your photography.
No, I was going to say, for the images you're creating right now with that little of experience, I guess that's amazing.
Well, thank you. I mean, the thing is, it became what was saving my life. Mm-hmm. And so I literally threw myself into it because it was something to focus on. It was something to learn. It was something to take my mind off of everything else, because I was teaching myself new skills. And not only was I teaching myself these things, I was getting out into nature, which is so healing. And so then I was going on road trips, and then I was going on longer road trips, and photography just became the excuse.
Sure.
And so it was the excuse to retrain my brain in something else. And it was the excuse to go and get outside and connect with the land again and connect with wildlife and all these different things. So, as much as the photos were the end result of that, it really was just the experience of, putting myself in a completely different situation that wasn't, all of the things that made me sad.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand that with nature photography, because like on just kind of on the side note here, you post to social media and, you're posting every day, and, people think that, every time you go out, you get this awesome picture of an elk or a moose or a landscape or the gorgeous sunrise. And yet they don't understand it's, I don't know, taking weeks or a month to get that one photo, but it's, as cliche as it sounds, it's the journey, right? It's not the destination. Like it's, a whole weekend of exploring and getting out there and not seeing a single animal, because you were pursuing wildlife, or, you get up to do the sunrise and it's bleak, travel all day looking for wildlife, a bird, and then you go to do sunset and it's raining. So, you know what I mean? But it's just getting out there, just having fun, right? And especially when you've got somebody with you, and sharing all that, right? So.
Yeah, I've spent many a day on the road driving long distances. Like, let's just go look for great grays today.
Yeah,
and you spend all that time and burn all that gas, and you come home with nothing. But you had a great day with your friend. just listening to good tunes and
Yeah.
having good conversation and not, sitting in front of Netflix all day long.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Just getting out there and look at the area where we live in. I mean,
And we're
how
pretty
far are you? You're
spoiled.
in Edmonton, right?
Yeah, I'm 3.5 hours literally from everything. 3.5 hours from Jasper, 3.5 hours from Abe, 3.5 hours from Banff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. But still yet close enough though,
absolutely. Yeah. It's
like
just a day rip,
Yeah, and that's it, right? I mean, it's in our backyard, and we can't lose sight of that. I had a couple of clients come in a couple of weeks ago there, and we're just in awe. I mean, the light wasn't the best, and conditions weren't ideal, but just driving around and just looking, like they were just in awe of the mountains, and I'm like, well, oh yeah, I guess, right, yeah, okay. So I've been here 20 years, but yeah, there is beauty in just every corner you turn if you really stop to look at it, right?
We definitely take it for granted for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So again, just getting out there and enjoying what nature has to offer, right? So
yeah, in all of my other pursuits and endeavors and careers and everything like that, I've met so many people, and so many people have kind of followed along with that photography journey, and they're like, I really would love to come over there and see what you're taking pictures of. I'm like, absolutely, come on over anytime. And then I kind of just like, I've got these mini tours that I'll be like, I'm like, okay, so how much do you want to see in a day? Like, how you want to pack everything in? You want to take your time a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, I'll custom make these little tours for my friend who like flies from Europe or from Mexico and all these different places, so I can take them around and show them all this stuff, because
that's awesome.
we live in a world-class destination. For people who travel all over the world to see this stuff. So I'm happy to share it and show it off, and I'll take the time off work to do whatever. And,
you betcha.
And go bomb around the mountains.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, 100%. So, talking about nature photography, like what is kind of your favorite subjects to photograph? Or is it like you mentioned great grays, maybe spending a day pursuing them, but and you mentioned the dark skies first. So is that kind of your true passion? Like you're absolutely in love with night photography, like auroras, Milky Way, stars, that kind of stuff? Or is it kind of on a broader, scale?
It's definitely a broad scale. I'm one of those nature photographers who you can't really pin down and who likes too much stuff, which keeps your days in the field really interesting and really engaging, thankfully.
Yeah, you bet.
If I had to break it down, I would probably say that night skies is my absolute favorite thing.
Yeah.
But I do love, regular landscapes. I love small scenes, intimate scenes, nature photography. Storm chasing is a huge pastime of mine in the summer. And I love wildlife as well. Bird photography. I kind of separate bird photography from wildlife photography, even though they're the same thing. But like wildlife photography for me is like the bigger animals and the bears and the bison and everything like that. And birds, I can literally just, oh man, there's like 4 different species of birds in my backyard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With the camera. Or I can take my camera when I take the dogs out for a walk, and I can look for different birds. And it's amazing what you'll see when you just tune your senses a little bit into what birds and birds of prey are in the cities.
Exactly.
There were so many owls. I found a boreal owl yesterday, which is crazy. And little saw-whet owls and barred owls. I found a long-eared owl a year and a half ago in the place where I walk my dog every day.
Yeah.
And, you just have to be attuned to it and ready for it. And if you don't have your camera, you're not going to get the photo, which that's a story for the long-eared owl. Actually, I was walking my dog, and we got to the end of the trail where we usually turn around, and you could hear the magpies and the blue jays just kicking up a storm. And I was like, oh, what do they got over there in that tree? And there was another guy standing there with a camera, and he had an old film camera and an old film long lens. And standing there, he's like, oh, it's an owl, but I can't see what kind of owl it is. I'm like, it's probably a great horn and no big deal. And all of a sudden it comes flying out. I'm like, that wasn't a great horn. What was that? And I stop and I get a look at it in the tree because it landed really close. And I'm like, that's a long-eared owl. Oh my God, it's a long-eared owl. It's a long-eared owl, And I didn't have my camera with me. I was like, okay, do I sit here? And so keep in mind, I was probably a good 15-minute walk from where I had parked, and then another 5-minute drive to home and whatever. And I was like, do I just sit and enjoy the moment, or do I try to go get my camera? Like, what do I do here? So I had about 3 minutes of like, okay, this is good. I'm enjoying this. I got to go get the camera. My old dog, and we ran back to the Jeep. And I don't run. Like, I am not a runner. If there's not a bear,
you learn how good a shape you're in.
Yeah, and it's not good shape. And so I'm running and I'm stopping and wheezing, and I'm running and stopping and wheezing, and I get back to the Jeep, get to the house, put the dog in, grab my camera, rip back, and sure enough, it was still there.
Nice. Oh, wow.
And that's awesome. Snag a few shots of it and, cross that one off the Alberta owl list. So.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Cool. That's the whole thing about taking a walk or, going down to a park, like just being in tune to everything. Like it's amazing what, even just like you're saying, stop to listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a whole different world, man. Like you hear so many different things,
Yeah, we're so busy with hearing the crunching of our boots and the talking to our friend or whatever. And it's like, stop. I hear this bird. Oh, no, these birds are kicking off. What's going on? Let's go see what's going on. And then sure enough, there's a saw-whet owl in the tree.
Yeah. And you never would have heard that if you just, didn't, if you weren't conscious of just, sitting there and just, paying attention. Right. So
yeah.
No, 100%. It's, again, that's good for the mental health, right? Just going for a walk, fresh air every day. And just kind of, how do I say that? Like, when you're out in nature, like I know for myself, the minute I jump in the Jeep and I'm on my way to a destination, like the minute I get inside my gears there, I don't think about anything else. It's like the stress is gone.
Yes.
Like, and then it's almost like when you get back and you're back in the house, it's like, oh crap. The stress is back.
It's like, now this starts dinging and I gotta like answer all these messages again.
Yes.
That's right. And it's just like, oh man, but no, I totally get what you're saying, man.
It takes you away for a while for sure.
Yeah. And when we're out in the field too, like there is no greater example of being in the moment. We always talk about, in life and creating balance and being in the moment and recognizing when we're in the moment. And there's no greater example of that than when you're sitting and waiting for the light to pop off in front of a lake that's perfectly still with a mountain in the background, or waiting for the aurora. And,
exactly.
it's going to be a G5 aurora night, but you're just waiting for that, a little bit of action. And then when you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah.
And there's no other thought in your brain.
Yeah.
Just being there and focusing on the moment and the shot, and it's bliss.
Yeah. No, 100%. The thing, and I mean, I'm not, how do you say that? Like, to each his own, but I just don't get when I see people out there in nature and parks and everything, walking with earbuds in, listening to music. I'm like, dude, you could have done that at home.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? We'll go to the grocery store and walk and listen to your music, but I'm just like, how do people have, music playing or the headphone? Like, I mean, you're there for a different reason. Like, I mean, I'm there for a different reason, I guess. Right. But maybe that's their way of de-stressing, right? We look at it a little bit different, right? So
they're still outside and they're still getting fresh air.
Well, and that's it. Yeah. We're there for the smells and the sounds, and they're there to, listen to maybe their favorite podcast or music while they're out in nature too. Right. So.
Yeah. And hopefully maybe they'll stop and see somebody taking pictures of the birds and then pull out their earbud and
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, how often does that happen though? Right. You're out there and you have a decent sized lens or something and you're pointing and everybody stops. Everybody wants to know what's going on. So it's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then they're like, oh, I never seen that before, so, you're introducing them to something that's, like you said, a lot of these parks have, owls. Like I know there's certain parks here in Calgary that have pygmies, short-eared, of course, great horned owls. Certain areas north of Calgary are, for great grays and stuff. But, people that are flying by are never, not even paying attention. They see a camera, you're pointing, and it's like, oh, wow, look at that. And never seen it before. And it's an amazing thing. They're like all excited, checking out this new, animal that they've, never seen or even heard of too. Like if you're not an owl guy, and most people will recognize a great horned owl, But if they saw a solid or a short-eared or a pygmy or, any of those kind of things, they'd be like, what is that? Right. So it's cool.
Yeah. And I find that
cool
even
there.
With the little birds too, people are like, oh, I just thought we had blue jays and robins and chickadees and whatever. This is like a yellow warbler and black and white warbler, or all these different things. I had no idea we had these kinds of birds. And to be perfectly fair, before I got into photography, I was the same way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest still. I mean, I've had, people with me and they're like, oh, hey, Joe, what's that bird? It's like, brown. What about that one? Yellow. Because I have to identify when I get back, right? It's just, funny. I'm not a bird person. I mean, don't get me wrong. I probably know about 20 or 30 birds, but, but to really identify them, to get into that and they laugh and I'm just like, hey, let's take the photos, and we'll research later. Cause that's half the fun too, right? Finding a new species, so you get back and you try and figure it out. I'm still kind of old school. I still got a library of nature books and, for birds, I got a couple of birding books and all this kind of stuff. Right. So it's kind of fun to flip through all that kind of thing, stuff too. Right. But, so yeah, that's my bird knowledge right there.
A few years ago, we had, like you talk about in the city, right? A few years ago, we had my daughter was walking our dog around the pond just out back of our house, like a storm runoff pond, and she saw a great blue heron right there. So we ran out there, and every single year, the great blue heron's back. And you're always out there. Everybody's looking for it. They can't wait till it's migrating back, and it's just amazing to see that. You don't have to go like 20 feet from my house. I got this great blue heron that's framed in it's on a canvas on my wall. It's from there. It's not from So you got to keep your eyes open, like you said. It's just amazing what you can see without going too far, for sure. So.
Yeah, like half of the amazing bird photos and the diversity of bird photos that I've gotten have come from the ravine where I walk my dog 5 minutes from my house.
Sure, yeah.
And some of that started even before I was into photography. There's a pair of breeding night herons who have come down there year after year after year after year. And I remember seeing them like 9-10 years ago. And I was like, what the heck kind of bird is that?
Yeah.
And, looked it up and figured it out. And I'm like, okay, so that's what it is. And then I'd look for them all the time. And, when I finally got a long lens and I was like, that's the first thing I'm going to go look for is those, those night herons and get that shot, but.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
So you said 1DX. Are you still a Canon shooter? Or?
I'm still a Canon shooter, yeah. I would, I really hope that I can upgrade into the R5 this year. I really want to take that step into mirrorless. I just keep hearing amazing things, especially for bird photography.
It is amazing.
And that eye tracking and everything like that. And watched a lot of reviews, and the difference between the R5 and the R6 for like astrophotography, just because of the megapixel size, there's not even that much of a difference between those two. So I think I'm just going to jump into the old R5 and see how it goes.
Well, I don't know if you saw the previous video. Chris has got the R5 and he rigged it up for video, and it's like a hybrid rig. So Chris can shoot photo and video on the go, right? And it's set up really, really well. It's a sweet setup, right? So
I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm hoping to get some good shots.
Seeing stuff like that makes me super envious. I'm like, I just got to do this. I can sell one of you.
Oh man.
Well, I got mine on order. I finally bit the bullet too. I do shoot with two cameras, like Canon and Lumix, right? But with the R5, I mean, it can use our RF lenses, right, Shane? Like, I mean, you get the adapters, so we're not having to switch over to all that RF stuff. You know what I mean?
And that's a huge benefit. Right? It's just that, I don't have to get all the new glass, and I can just make that little switch. And
and I'm using the 100 to 400, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's still amazing on that camera. It's even better, right? So, I mean, the 100 to 500, I'm sure would be lighter and, a little extra distance and all that. But I mean, I'm getting, just amazing images out of that 100 to 400 still. So why bother upgrading at this point for me? But that's me.
Yeah.
Well, I think going to the 100 to 500 DRF, you're going to get the additional image stabilization built in from that lens along with the in-body, right? So that's where it's really going to come out ahead, okay? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, if you're throwing an EF lens onto an R5, you're only getting the body stabilization, correct? You don't get the image stabilization from the lens.
I think I don't know that answer 100% because it does have stabilization built into that lens slightly, but I don't know if it's got the same scenario.
Or you're not getting the maximum stabilization.
No, definitely not for sure. Yeah. So I think it's like 8 stops of stabilization or something like that with the 100 to 500, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So Shane, I was talking to John Marriott really quick because when I decided to go with the R5, I asked him if he had the 100 to 500, and he said no. He says I'm sticking with my EF 100 to 400. Because he said it's just that good. Like all his glasses. So when I heard it from him saying like, oh no, I'm just sticking with all my good glass and don't need to switch over to the RF stuff right now. Like I said, unless you go for the weight, right, Chris? Like, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty stoked just to get that body and see how it matches up with all the glass, right? The standard EF stuff, right? So
yeah, I have do it. I have to do it. I mean, these conversations do not help.
Well, you know what really got me was this last year's spring workshop. 2 of the guys that came, they both had R5s, right? And I'm like, okay, no, that's cool, And one guy that was with us, Hadrian, he's a very techy guy, like knows that stuff inside and out. And we were shooting some rams up on a hill, right? Like they were a little ways out, and he had a 600 with him, and he was shooting it. And what he was telling me is like it hits the body, head, and eye like in a blink of an eye, right? It gets to the eye. I said, really? So he shows me the back of the camera, and the little red autofocus point is on the eye of the ram. Like it was like, what? Like, are you serious? And yeah, he was hand holding it way up to the top, and it's just like that's insane. So
I have to say though, sometimes it feels like cheating. You know what I mean? Like it's it's amazing, but yeah, and I did have a couple, the odd issue that I did notice. When the elk was in the trees and it's trying to get through the trees, it's having a hard time, catching on the eye. So I have actually switched to my camera to dual back button focus, so I can auto track the eye, and the other button is a single point kind of thing. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, and it's been working great for me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
no, that's awesome. So if you're a big birder, Shane, I guess DR5, again, the same friend of mine, Hadrian, he goes down the Inglewood, and a lot of them ducks are fast, right? And like the stuff he's getting, just because he says as long as you can pan with it, like as long as you can keep up to the ducks, it's just like the autofocus. You don't lose the autofocus. Like it's insane, man. Absolutely insane. So you'll have a blast with that for sure.
For shooting little birds, man. Those little birds are just like everywhere all the time. So if I can keep them in the frame.
If you can keep them in the frame, they'll be sharp. You know what I mean? So
I was going to say Canon's thought going forward with the mirrorless systems is, if they were going to introduce a new feature, they were going to introduce it into the 5D Mark III or the 4 or whatever. I think there's probably been, since I've had that camera in August, I think there's already been 2 or 3 firmware updates. So they're updating, not just fixing the bugs and all that, but they're also improving and adding functionality. So for example, they've got people eye focus, they've got animals, they've got car now, and even they've improved the facial recognition. So for example, I do sports photography as well, so I'm taking photos of kids playing hockey. So now they recognize the mask on the head, not just the, you know what I mean? So they're improving it as they go. They're not waiting for the next series. They're adding it to the existing body. So I honestly believe these bodies are going to last, a long time. Right. So, which I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah.
It's worth the investment, long-term investment for sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to like the 5D Mark II to get all that added functionality. Okay. We had to go to the 5D Mark III.
Yeah.
And then from there into the 5D Mark IV. And like what you're saying is now it's just software.
So far it's been, right? I mean, I guess only time will tell. And I know that they're doing different things because the R5C is coming out, which is more of a design for cinematic video in a way, right? Because they've added a fan in there. There was some heating issues with the video being running too long on 8K and all that. So they're definitely improving and creating separate bodies. And in fact, I heard today that there's a potential 75 megapixel rumor coming out of a potential offshoot of the R5 something or other, right? So
oh my god,
yeah. So I think they're still doing that, but it's nice that they're still being able to update the gear you have. So
yeah, cool. So you got your wide angle, Shane. You got I guess your 16 to 35s for your late night stuff. And
so we'll just start at the bottom and work our way in length. I've got the Rokinon 14 millimeter 2.4 SP, which is a phenomenal night lens. I was doing all of the reviews and checking like all the everything, all the specs and whatever, and everything kept coming back to that as being the absolute best astro.
Really,
lens. Interesting. And you wouldn't expect that from Rokinon, a brand like that. But man, ever since I've had it, it's my go-to night lens. You put it on infinity and it's tack sharp. It's perfect. It's just an incredible lens. I have the Canon 1635, 2.8, 2470, 2.8, 70 to 200, 2.8. And then my long lens is the Sigma 150 to 600 contemporary.
Oh, okay.
So 14 to 600, you got her
14
covered.
to 600, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Breadth.
Yeah. So that Rokinon is, it's a manual focus only lens, right?
It is, yeah.
It is, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you put it to the infinity mark, it's actually sharp and it's to infinity?
Tack sharp.
Like it is? Okay. Because if you try that with a 16 to 35 or something else, you're off.
It's not working.
No, it's not. Yeah. So that one there, actually, when you get there, because I know with night photography, one of the biggest problems is getting is focus, right? And so, you're trying to, focus on something in the distance, or, unless you got a really bright star that night or something to get that tack sharp focus. In this case here, that lens gets it to you on the infinity mark.
Yeah. And it cuts so much time because I'm a focus on a star guy. That's my go-to is find a bright star, zoom in 10 times magnification on my viewfinder and get it like perfectly tack sharp. This, I was like, I'm going to make sure and play around with it. And it's like, boom, I've just hit it on infinity and I don't have to worry about it. And I will still double check it.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But it's just cut out so much time. And I just put it down on that, boom. And I've got, shooting at 2.4 and 14 millimeters. And it's been wonderful for Milky Way and for Aurora.
Where's my pen? I gotta add that. I gotta write that down and take a look. So
that's awesome.
Awesome. Cool. So, okay. So Canon shooter, I guess you've been there the whole time then, right? So, okay.
Yeah. And I don't really have a desire to switch. Though there are some bodies out there that are like, oh, that's interesting. What's going on with that company and what they're doing and whatnot. But with what Canon has put out with the R5 and everything I've seen about it and seen with people that I've been with who are shooting it, I feel like that's just where I'm headed.
Well, I know two buddies that have another podcast that have switched from Nikon to Canon just because of the R5.
Yep, yeah, they did.
Nikon finally caught up with the Z9, but they were so far behind the curve with everything there. From what I was reading, that I think that it did them a great disservice. And for me, over the years, there was a lot of functionality in the Canon cameras that I was like, man, I wish I had a Nikon because why isn't there a built-in intervalometer in a Canon camera? Like this is the 1DX, this is the flagship. Why doesn't it have a built-in intervalometer? And everybody I know with Nikon's got them. And so that was, one of the things that, especially for shooting time lapse and night sky stuff and whatever, that I was really bummed that Canon didn't have, but
Yeah, no, 100%. So, so it makes me feel a little better going to the R5, knowing that, there's pros that are switching camera brands just to get to the R5. I'm like, wow,
for sure.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
And truth though, Canon did lag behind there for a little bit, right? So there was a bunch of people jumping to different things as well. I went to Fuji for video, right, for a while there, and still am shooting Fuji too. But when the R5 was finally there and capable, and people enjoyed it, and you hear all about it, then it does make sense to jump back. But for me anyway. But there are lots of options out there. But Canon finally, I think, has landed on a solid system for sure.
Yeah, I know a few guys who switched from Canon to Sony, and now I don't know. I'm sure they're happy with their move, but if they know that, you know, this was coming out and they didn't have to sell all their glass and switch and do all that sort of stuff, I wonder if they would have just held the course and stuck with Canon.
Yeah.
That said, I do, you know, everything I see and hear and read about the Fuji GFX 100 is just like, man, that sounds like the Cadillac of landscape photography. You know, that is purpose built for slow, deliberate, beautiful landscape photography.
For sure. It's an amazing $13,000 camera, right?
Was that the 100 megapixel one?
Yeah.
It's a medium format, right? Is that the medium format version? Yeah.
I think they got a version 2 that's cheaper now, right? I think.
Yeah, they just came out with an S version, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Was that like a 50 megapixel or something?
I think there's 200 megapixel cameras out there for sure. But but the problem is like this, the way that I found, so I went to the X series. So I have the Fuji X-T3 and Fuji X-T4. So you get the lenses for that. I do have a Fringer adapter, so I can still use my Canon lenses on the Fuji. But then you look at the GFX, it's a different lens system altogether again. So, I mean, it's like you jump in and then now you got to jump again, and, you know, jumping back to Canon was easy because I have all the lenses still, right? So
100%.
But I've seen the GFX 100 is. I mean, I think Thomas Heaton has used it as well, and he, you know, it's a pretty amazing camera from what I understand. So.
Yeah, it looks incredible. I know Adam Gibbs uses it as well.
I was just going to mention that because he uses that because him and Gavin always are like, they're always jostling back and forth about all the Fujis and stuff like that. And I know he had the GFX 100 there. Yeah, for sure. I think it was the last video anyway. So cool. So right now with where you're at in your photography career, what are some of your biggest challenges you see moving forward? Like, is there any, or are things just going like just the way you want, or are you, you know, what do you foresee right now in the future there?
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting question, and kind of spins off into a whole variety of different things. You know, photography for me was never about making money. It was never about being my career per se, and what I did to make a living. That said, over the years, as I've gone along and gotten better and started making some money off of it, it became, how do I financialize this without hating it? Because
very good point.
When you turn your passions into your careers, you kind of stop enjoying it for a while. And it has a way to kind of ruin the love you have for it. Yeah. And so for me, there was a big struggle over the last few years of how do I do this in a way that doesn't make me not want to do this anymore, or just it becomes a grind and whatever else. And, you know, like I love making prints. I work with one of the best printmakers here in town, Climate 10. And so I just didn't have the right way for people to be able to buy prints easily. So I just completely had a brand new website built. So that was one thing for me that was kind of helping me do that. And I launched that new website in November. And so that's been a really great way for me to, you know, have a blog and showcase my new work and my best work and everything like that. And hey, buy this image as a print is right there for people to get and do that. So that was one big thing. I've actually since November, I've taken a step into commercial photography, which I had no intention of doing whatsoever. But as I mentioned earlier, one of my really good friends and early mentors was Curtis Como, and his assistant just moved back out east. And we were just chatting one night. I was like, hey man, like if you need anybody to like kind of cover off on what like, you know, Kevin was doing for you, let me know. And he was like, do you want to shoot all the concerts? And I was like,
sweet.
Okay.
Wow.
So I started doing concert photography in November for one of the venues here in town, and am absolutely loving the challenge of that because it's, you know, it's something I love. Live music. I'm seeing all these bands that I would have loved to have seen, get to take photos of them. And then he's also got big government contracts. So this morning I was shooting the premiere, talking before the throne speech, and, you know,
oh, wow.
Sweet.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. You know, and it's like, politics notwithstanding, just the fact that you get to, you know, be in that opportunity to shoot whoever the premier is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So that helps me build a more diverse portfolio. And if I do eventually want to switch over into doing a more of a commercial thing, I've got a portfolio that I'm building to do that.
100%. Yeah. It's important to work on all that.
the thing I find really interesting about it, and you guys can attest to this as wildlife and as nature photographers, we will drive hundreds of kilometers and we will sit through horrendous conditions and hope for that one sliver of light or whatever else. Yeah. And, maybe we have to do that trip 3 or 4 times before we get that. And we spend, $1,000 on gas and everything. And
not far from the truth.
Maybe we'll sell one print for like, 75 or $100. And you're like,
truth?
Can't believe you sell that for $75. Yeah. You don't know what went into that. Meanwhile, now I'm at this point where somebody's like, hey man, do you want to go like stand, in front of the premiere for half an hour and point your camera and do like the least challenging shoot ever and make $150? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Sounds great to me. So
100%.
I kind of love the dichotomy of that, where it's like, the stuff that we pour our heart and our soul and our time and our energy and our money into getting, we can't make a dime off of, but I know. Just turn around and go and do that. So, I am kind of loving that and I'm loving that challenge and that change, but, I don't have a desire to be a full-time commercial shooter at all. I do love all of my other businesses, and the fact that I have these other businesses, Dave Roshaw, told me about the theory of many streams make a river, of a philosophy of making money.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I'm at. And I've got my tattoo shop, I've got toys and comics to sell and put on toy and comic book shows, and make some money doing prints and maybe the odd workshop here and there. And and now I've transitioning into, putting on a nature photographers conference. Which for me is a really exciting way now to share my passion for photography, but without making it about my photography and my work. And I can use my 20 years of event experience in creating this new event to help other people connect, build community, find their passion, grow and learn as photographers as well.
Well, with what's going on, as far as your, like the advertising aspect of it, like all your social media and the website and everything, it looks like it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal event. So let's segue right into that and tell us about your conference.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. So, this is going to be in Pincher Creek at the end of May, the May 27th to 29th weekend. And it is our first Light Chasers Nature Photography Conference, where we've got 10 speakers, some of the top names in nature photography in Canada, who will be coming out and speaking over the course of 2.5 days. But where it's also a little bit different is, we're holding this in an area of the province that is so incredibly beautiful, and we're deliberately setting our hours for the conference to allow people to go out and shoot and to maximize their shooting time in the field. To if you're going somewhere that's incredibly beautiful, you want to shoot somewhere that's incredible. You want to shoot it and take it all in. So we've built it around that. And in addition, and I can't say just yet, because we're so close to, getting all of the contracts locked in and signed, but we have some major brands on board as sponsors.
Cool.
And what those we're creating with those brands is, so many events just run a sponsorship where it's like, here's your gold tier and your silver tier and your bronze tier. Yep. And for gold, you get your logo this big and this big.
Exactly.
And so forth. And I really wanted to do something that was a lot different, but also, brought the brand and the consumer together directly in really innovative ways. So we've got what we're calling breakout sessions, where in the hours before and after the conference, we're going to be having the brands out in the field at some of the locations nearby. And you can go, I just about slipped up and said the word. And it's not that I'm not confident it's not going to happen. I got to play.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And, but you can go out and you can try that camera. And you can try that filter system. I'm giving some hints here as to, what we're doing. But you can go out and you can put them in your hand and you can put them on your camera, or you can try their camera, and get a feel for it. And I mean, where else can you do that? Even in talking to some of the brands and some of the conference calls that we've had and stuff like that, when you set up at a trade show, and you're trying to sell your stuff and your gear, And somebody's like, yeah, well, this is really cool, but like, I'm a landscape photographer, or I'm a night sky shooter, and we're in a giant concrete hall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't
really
test it the way
see-
you want to. That's for sure.
Right. I can't see how this is going to benefit me or anything. But here we're able to put it in people's hands in the field for them to
Nice.
try and to create those and build those brand relationships too.
Wow,
And
that sounds
I'm really
wicked.
excited about that.
No kidding.
And of course, the speakers that we have are top tier lineup. Our keynote speaker is Adam Gibbs.
Mhm.
We've got Nikon ambassador Victoria Hack. We've got yourself, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah.
Monica Deviette,
Mhm.
Curtis Jones, Mark Jinks, Mark Kogel, who I love his black and white long exposure work.
Mhm.
Beth Allen, who's a phenomenal storm chaser.
Mhm.
Climate Tan and Janet Seville, they're my printmakers. They're going to be bringing a really, I honestly, I think their talk is one of the ones that I'm looking forward to the most, because I think it's going to break people's minds.
Really?
Just in the understanding and the importance of color. And these are the things that we completely take for granted as nature photographers, as to why this makes a difference and why we need to understand it to make our images better.
Nice. Wow.
So
now I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm super excited.
What a
I'm
description.
I'm really excited for what they're bringing, and I'll also be speaking as well at the conference. Plus, we've got some great opening day activities. We're hoping to work with the town of Pincher Creek and maybe have the mayor come out and help us open it up, and a couple of other speakers involved too. So
that's insane.
Yeah, I have to pinch myself sometimes, because even with all of my years of experience in building events, and in my confidence in knowing what I was building and what I was going to roll out with this, it's going even better than I expected, knock on wood.
Wow. That sounds absolutely amazing, man.
I was excited before. I'm shaking now. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think Chris was one of the first ones to buy a ticket there, Shane.
So first one.
Was I? All right.
Chris was the first ticket buyer.
I was waiting for that click.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's so
perfect.
Awesome,
he was, yeah. So
it made
put a big smile on my face when I saw his ticket come through first.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. I'm glad. Yeah. That's great.
And I mean, how far is Pincher Creek from Waterton too, if people have time, right? Or even before the conference, after the conference, whatever, right? I mean, you got Waterton, which is just under 20, 25 minutes, if that, from Pincher, right?
Yeah, 25 minutes away. You got Castle Provincial Park, which is 15, 20 minutes away. And we built an interactive map on our website that shows all of the various locations, everywhere from those two things that are super close by to things that are within a couple hours away. Because, we've got Writing on Stone Provincial Park is a couple of hours from there. Dinosaur Provincial Park's a couple hours from there. Frank Lake's an hour from there, which is an incredible birding site.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's so many different locations. Even if you bring your passport and want to cross the border, we got Glacier National Park right on the other side. And, there's so many wonderful shooting opportunities down there. And I'm kind of hoping that people, make a week of it. The conference is only 3 days, but come down and spend more time down there. And if people are coming from across Canada, come and enjoy all of these aspects of Alberta that we've got to offer. Because that's the other thing. And one of the reasons why I wanted to choose to put it there is Alberta is so much more than the Rocky Mountains. So many people come here specifically for the Rockies and for Rockies photography, but there are so many areas here that are, I'm not going to say undershot or not as well known, but they don't get the credit that the Rockies get.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
But they're still just absolutely incredible places to be. And don't get me wrong, I love the Rockies, but I'd rather spend a week in Dinosaur, or I'd rather spend a week in the in the Badlands and the stuff. And so to put it in Pincher, where we're not that far away from all of these different elements, for me was really important. And Pincher itself, I mean, it's literally where the prairies crash into the mountains.
Oh, 100%. Sure. And I was going to ask you why you chose Pincher, but now you just kind of told us why, location.
Yeah.
Like you said, foothills into the Rockies, and everything good, everything amazing, within 2 or 3 hours surrounding Pincher. Right. It doesn't matter which direction you go, right?
Exactly. And, and the other thing too is you could put it in Banff or you could put it in Jasper, but man, Banff and Jasper are so overdone and so overrun. And to be able to put some tourism dollars into a small town like Pincher Creek, who may not, generate as much tourism activity. I think it's just important to showcase other parts of Alberta that aren't those two places.
Yeah,
true. And it's probably more cost effective as well, I would think, than Banff and Jasper, right?
So significantly more cost effective.
Yeah. I know myself, even going west, going even through Banff, I rarely actually ever stop at Banff anymore. But I mean, even midweek now, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, try and find parking, because there's a few events I went to in Banff, like, in the evenings, and some going on the Wyatt Museum or this or that. And I mean, even midweek, it's just like, it's absolutely insane. Like, there's just so many people. It's a beautiful place. Don't get me wrong. And people need to come see it. But, as I guess you would call me a local now, I've been in Calgary for like 20 years. I couldn't imagine holding a conference there, having all those people show up. And then, I don't know. I think you made an excellent choice to stay away from those very touristy areas. 100%.
Thank you. And I agree with that. I love those places. I was just in Jasper at the beginning of February. I think it's a great place. But those places don't need the tourism dollars. Those places don't need the exposure. And, if you're bringing a bunch of people to a town, like you said, you want them to be able to park somewhere. You want them to be able to get a room that's not $400 a night.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And you want to go to a place where you're not feeling even overwhelmed by people, like restaurants in line at Tim Hortons. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to spend, like, in Banff, I don't even stop anymore for that either. Like, it's a great location. I was kind of wondering why you put it in Pincher. Like, when you first announced it, I'm going, man, that's kind of far, like, are people going to travel and stuff? But I mean, you're getting the ticket sales now. Like, you're saying that it's you're doing quite well. And, I think people are enjoying, or maybe they're enjoying or are looking forward to the fact that they're getting away from the big cities, the big tourist areas.
I think so too. And I think it makes it a destination that's like exciting, because let's face it too, like, how many people in Alberta have shot in Banff and Jasper versus how many people have shot in Castle and Waterton?
True. That's right.
Yep.
So, I think it creates a different sort of a vibe, and a way more low key vibe, and a way more adventurous vibe, because we're going to places that are a little bit, off the beaten path per se, compared to Banff or Jasper or wherever. And I'm really excited about that. Like, we have, you're talking about restaurants and stuff too. Like, we have a really good relationship with the Stardust Motel, which is right next door to the Heritage Inn, which is where we're hosting it.
Okay.
And that's why the Stardust is one of our host hotels as well, because we have such a good relationship with them.
Okay.
And we haven't announced any of this on our social media or website or anything yet, but the restaurant there is called the General Quarters. And the General's Quarters is going to be our official after hours event host. And so we'll be having a few things happening there, like the portfolio reviews. We're also having a photography contest for people who are attending the conference only.
Wow.
Where that's going to be going live, I think, on March 15th on the website, where people who have purchased tickets can upload up to 5 images. And then we're going to, select the winners in multiple categories, have prizes for the winners. And we'll have all those on display in the basement at the kind of the rec room at the GQ. And that's where we'll be hosting the portfolio reviews. They're generously offering 10% discount on food and drinks for all conference attendees. So we're really trying to, and again, work with the local community in Pincher Creek, but also, build that community aspect into our event, where it's like, well, maybe you don't want to go shoot. Well, let's all go to the GQ. They've got a beautiful back patio with a wood-fired pizza oven, and it's out of the wind.
Nice.
And it's a great spot.
Well, it's funny. Like, you and I were messaging, and in the past or whatever. And I told you I'm looking forward to listening to the speakers and all that. But one thing I'm looking forward to is actually meeting people that you follow online on social media and you talk to and message here and there, but have never met in person. So like you and I, we've never met in person, right? So I mean, it's going to be great getting to know people that you see every day online. So
yeah, absolutely. And for me, that's the big part of it. And I think we can all agree that as important as social media has become for us in sharing our work and for networking, like we're all pretty over it.
right.
The constant algorithm changes and having to game the algorithm and having to cross post 4 or 5 different platforms in order to make your work be seen the most. And now they're forcing us, I shouldn't say forcing it, because some people are really enjoying it, but forcing us to reels in order to get more views. And it's like, man, I just want to post a picture. I don't want to post a video to some catchy music that's 10 seconds long.
Yeah.
And so many people are just like, enough. And that's another reason for this, where it's like, if we're all feeling that way, let's all get together and let's all, be out there together and to interact and to sit down and have a coffee or a drink or whatever. Sure. And instead of just networking behind these screens all the time, we're doing it the way we're supposed to do it.
Hey, Shane, really quick, can you tell us a little bit more about that portfolio review? So those are people that purchase tickets or people that enter the photo contest, or how does that work?
It's open to anybody who's purchased a ticket for the conference. So again, I'm in the slow build of the conference and the announcements and everything. It's my comic book convention promotion background, where we don't put everything out at one time. We start to slowly, build the excitement as we go.
Cool.
And so I know I've teased it a little bit, but we're going to be having portfolio reviews with some of the presenters. And we just pick a time, in the hours before or after the conference, and people can sign up for it, where it's not just like a free for all. It's like a sign up and you've got your time, and come off and show off your portfolios. And I do want to break it down a little bit, where Monica and myself will do a night sky portfolio review. Maybe you and Mark can do a wildlife portfolio review. Yeah,
you bet.
Adam and Victoria can do just a general landscape, sort of portfolio reviews and stuff like that. And again, it's more ways for people to learn, to grow in their craft, and to interact with the presenters that we have.
Oh man, that's so amazing. Like, in the beginning when you talked about it, it's, it sounded like, okay, conference presenters, kind of your run of the mill, kind of conference thing. I've been to a lot of these things, but this is sounding like way over the top. I think people are just gonna fall in love with all aspects of this. Like, just even these little snippets of what you just said, and there's more to come. I'm just like, if that's not going to sell it, I don't know what will. Like, holy
I keep
crap,
telling people it's going to be the first annual. Fingers crossed, right?
Exactly. So,
and that was my plan too, and it is my plan. Long term, if this does well, and it is doing well, it's doing well for me to be confident in saying that it'll happen again. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's great.
That I would like Pincher Creek to be our flagship event every year. But then look at doing a second one at various locations around Canada every year. So I've got visions of one in the Yukon and one on the island and one in Newfoundland or whatever else. And then that way, the people who can't maybe travel all the way from Newfoundland to Canada or to Alberta, well, they can have one in their own backyard and things like that. Or we can bring the conference to these beautiful places, these other places as the reason to go. And then more people will travel to those spots and stuff like that. So,
wow.
I'm really excited about it. I know when I was teasing it, that I was saying like, this is going to be a photography event unlike any other in Canada. And I really think that I'm doing that. And there's only a handful of conferences like this in the US as well. And I don't even know if they're doing a lot of the things that, I think they have most of the things, but I'm trying to have a very fresh approach for across the board with it.
No kidding.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, from what we just heard, I can't see why anybody would not want to go,
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I was the first purchaser. All right.
Yeah. So, Chris, you're going to take that ticket and you can frame it and put it up on the wall behind you. And, you know,
but you got to get Shane on the shelf next time. Yeah.
You got to get Shane to sign it first.
That's right. Yeah.
You know,
and then just, there. Yeah.
Right.
You get it signed by all the presenters.
Oh,
yeah. There you go.
There you go. Absolutely.
Oh, my God. Well, that's awesome, man.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you know, we just got a couple more questions for you. You know, I guess these might be sort of more cliche kind of things, but you know, like, what do you do to keep your craft moving forward as far as learning? Like, are you a big YouTube guy? Do you have a mentor? Do you, read a lot of books? So how do you move forward with that?
I mean, all of the above is the short answer.
Okay.
But the long answer is, YouTube I thought was for movie trailers. Up until very recently, I didn't realize like how much user generated content was on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
The pandemic opened my eyes to photography on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I had nothing but time to kill and just started falling down these YouTube rabbit holes of
we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, there's Thomas Heaton guy and there's Adam Gibbs guy.
All
of these different people. So and it's not just that, not just photography, but like I really love like the whole overlanding thing in your Jeep. Just going out and like I've converted the back of my Jeep crudely, but my dad and I built this beautiful like sleeping platform with storage for my camera gear and stove and all that sort of stuff. And so I love watching those types of videos as well. And it helps my photography because it's getting me out in the field.
Yeah.
So YouTube was huge. I love photography books. I'm a big believer in that we should not be viewing photography like this. We should be viewing photography large. And if you can't, go to an exhibition and see somebody's large format prints or whatever, then buying a book of their work, I think is a really wonderful way to do it. I just bought a bunch of new books. Marcel van Oosten, I don't know if you guys follow that guy. He's a Nikon ambassador. His work is absolutely insane. His wildlife work, his landscape work. And last year he put out a book called Mother. And it's this big hardcover book about Mother Earth and his time exploring Mother Earth. And man, I just sat and pored over that. Neil Burnell, I just got his book on forests, UK forests, just beautiful images of old, gnarly, twisted oak trees and fog and stuff like that. Just picked up Dave Broshaw's Southern Light.
Yep.
So yeah, and always pouring into photography books and stuff like that, and mentorship. Yeah, like I never really thought much of it until I got to the point where I was like, where do I go from here? Am I stuck? Am I not stuck? I don't really know. I think we all get to that point where we start making some really beautiful art. But how do we grow it? How is it, is it cliche what we're doing? Is it just the same run of the mill as everybody else's? So I did sit down with Dave Broshaw last year for a one-on-one mentorship, which I found to be really, really helpful.
Nice.
Dave obviously is one of Canada's, beloved sons of photography.
Yeah, you betcha.
And his, I'm lucky to call him a friend, and, he's got one of my prints hanging in his home, which I find incredible.
Wow. That's cool.
But it's, he has so much to pass on and learn and then to teach. And, so for me to sit down with him for an hour and a half was really worth it. Just to, it wasn't even about like, where do I see my photography going? And it's just, where do I see myself going with photography?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome. No, that's great. I mean, I don't even have cable anymore. It's YouTube. Like you when you said YouTube, I'm like, oh yeah, like it's an addiction. Like I got all these YouTube channels for photography, like that I subscribe to, right? And I mean, there's almost never not a time that you can't find something new, right?
Yeah.
Like as far as the photography aspects go. But it's funny because sometimes after these photography videos, you get into all this other crap that it's like, oh yeah, and then, oh wow, and then next thing you know, you go from like, I don't know, like watching Thomas Heaton's video to I don't know. I'm even embarrassed to say where I end
where's
up.
this going?
It's just like,
Here we go.
how do you get from this to this? And it's like, oh, hang on, reset. Okay, let's go back to photography, right? It's just like, but
man.
it's an awesome platform, like you said,
sure.
and with the pandemic, I mean, you just learn so much. But again, you can only learn so much online. I'm the type that you have to do, right?
Same.
So
yeah, hands-on.
So a lot of times I'll even take like screen captures off my phone of certain photos that kind of inspired me to try something similar in the field, or some sort of photo recipe, I guess, for setting or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that really helps. And then you get out there and you try, right? So YouTube is definitely at the tops for me too.
For sure.
Chris?
Yeah, discovering Alistair Ben's channel was one of the highlights of the pandemic for me. It was like his work is incredible. But then just his philosophy, I was like, this is my philosophy. This, like, everything he was saying was like just resonating with everything that I was feeling at that moment. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly where I need to start cultivating where I want to go and what I want to do and how I want to, express myself through my photography. And so just being able to, find people who share that philosophy with you on that stuff is incredible.
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
That's why I'm looking forward to the conference. I mean, it's all like-minded individuals, right? You all have the same, right? Yeah. So, and you were just talking about overlanding. I'm actually trying to build my truck out right now as well. So I've been watching tons of those videos as well. Lots of different storage ideas. Ones. Oh, I tell you. Yeah. Definitely go down a rabbit hole there.
Well, Thomas Heaton has a really good van build.
Yeah, he
series
does.
Of videos. Yeah. And I just started watching Adam Gibbs. He kind of redid his, and he was doing it as far as he was doing the build, but just using like 2x2s. Oh, yeah. So then he could pull it out and then put the aluminum framing in and stuff. So he was like kind of doing a prototype first, so he didn't have to, make certain cuts or waste material and that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm at on his van build right now. But
nice.
Everybody's got a different way of doing it. I mean, Thomas is. It looks like a hotel. like he went above and beyond on his camper or his van build. It's like absolutely insane.
Well, and he kept saying through that video, he's like, you got to remember that I'm not a handy guy. And I'm like, what? I'm not a handy guy. You are very handy. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Yeah, it was insane, his build, man. Like, oh my God. And he thought of everything, right? But
you kind of have to, work on your own, because some of these amazing vehicles, like these Sprinter vans that they've converted and raised and all that, they're like $150,000 to $200,000, right? So it's unbelievable. So if you can make something work that's still going to get you out, well, then have at her. So
yeah, and that was the one thing that I loved about doing it with my dad, because my dad is a very handy guy.
Yeah,
and man, we just spent a few days in the summer and we built for $200 or $300, and
that's
we
awesome.
Just built this beautiful platform, and we it was just the two of us working together out there and having a really good time, and made something that's super functional. And it doesn't look as great as these Sprinter vans or anything like that, but actually when you look at the top, we've got a beautiful sheet of wood that has some lids on it and everything like that, and it's
sweet.
It's way better than what I had before, and my camera's secure now, and that's the one thing about when you own a Jeep. Yeah. You can't just leave your camera gear in the back. It's not like a trunk that locks or whatever.
That's right.
So you're always a little worried about, who's going to come around with your gear. And it's like, oh, now I got a crazy locking system for my camera gear that's totally secure. And we got a food cubby and a power cubby and a storage cubby. And
nice.
I don't know, it's great. I'm pretty happy with it.
That's what I'm going to be doing with my dad as well. It's funny you say that, because I mean, I spent the elk rut sleeping in the back of my pickup truck. I bought an air mattress in the back seat. I thought I could probably make this a little better. So I'm gonna canopy and I'm gonna build it in the back. I'm really short, so my truck bed is 5'6", so I think I should be fine. But I'm looking forward to it as well. So.
Well, yeah, your dad was tearing apart an office or something. He had all this, what is it, like cabinets and stuff?
Got all this cabinetry. He's like, I'm not going to use this. Could you use this for the back of your truck? I'm like, yeah. So I'll take that. So, yeah.
And I recently bought, last year bought a cheap Cherokee, Laredo, Grand Cherokee, right? So, and it was funny because I was looking for an SUV, like I was looking at the Xteras and the Forerunners. I was just looking at a bunch of different things. And it was funny because every vehicle I went and looked at, the first thing I did was put the back seats down so I could see if I had room to sleep. And they're looking at me like, what? I'm like, no, if I touch that with my head or that with my feet, I said, I can't use it. Right. And the Grand Cherokee was perfect. Lots of room. Right. And lots of room width-wise too. So, I have all my gear in the, so I haven't gone to that extent yet that you have, like, as far as building a platform and all that. But it works for me, just like you guys. Things are working for you now. And then as I progress, maybe this year I'll build up like, a canopy or a cabinetry or something on the side and, locking, a locking box for gear, and just all that kind of stuff. Right. But, again, it was just like the salespeople were kind of looking at me like, what do you mean? I was like, hey, it's all about being comfortable sleeping in the back, because that's what I did all last year. Yeah. I was at Jasper 3 times in the fall for the elk rut and the moose rut and everything. And I just needed the place to lay my head, right? So
that's it. You just find that spot to pull over and get in. And I travel with my old dog. And so, she's got a lot
of those photos with your dog in the back, right?
Those are great, yeah.
She's got a big comfy spot to lay down for the drive-in and everything like that. And got the mattresses permanently put on there and big blankets and super cozy for her. And then she's usually the worst part though is when I go to get into bed and she's laying right in the middle of where I want to be. I gotta work around.
That happens at home too, man.
It does. Yeah.
I've had dogs all my life and it's like they rule, man. It's like it's like you're the uncomfortable one and they're always. Just like legs are out and you know what I mean, right? So
always, yeah.
I totally get it, man. So again, one last question there for you, Shane. And it's one of those cliche questions, I guess, but what advice would you give to somebody starting out?
Oh man. Shoot what you love. Mm-hmm. It just comes down to shoot what you love. Especially, we were talking about social media earlier and this, and we all get so wrapped up in what's going to be a banger and get that social media hype and whatever else. And, if you're always chasing what you think other people want, you're never going to be happy with your own photography. Mm-hmm. So just shoot what you love, that's,
and don't be afraid to post it. I'm glad you said that, because I'll give you guys a little snippet there. I think it was last year. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I vanished from social media for about 6 or 7 months. And I actually had friends emailing me, asking me or messaging me, asking me if I was okay. And I was to a certain point in my career where I didn't think anything was good enough. I couldn't post it. I would, what would people think? And in the back of my mind, like I know I've got good quality work, right? But something triggered me, something set me off. And I was like, it was a solid 6 months, could have been 7 or 8 months where I didn't post an image because I felt I'm a perfectionist when it comes to a lot of things. So I could not present my work. And, I finally had to get back to that, what, screw it. I'm not doing it for other people. I'm doing it for me. Right. So started posting the stuff that I was proud of again and not worrying about what other people thought and, that kind of stuff. So it took me a long time to kind of get out of that. But good advice there, Shane. Like, just shoot what you want. Don't worry about the likes and the, the follows and all that other real bullshit is what it is, just do it because you love to do it. And I see a lot of people doing that. And I just love the fact that they're just like, they don't care. Like, they're just like, it's what they saw today. It's what they experienced today. And, as a professional, don't get me wrong, but looking at it with professional eyes, if it was going to be a photo that you need to critique and all this kind of stuff, it's okay. You know what I mean? But when that person posted it, you can tell, like, in their the written word, like their text or their message under that photo, how excited they were to see this. And they don't care what, other people think, or like whether it was, tack sharp, perfectly composed or whatever. They were excited that they got this picture of this owl or this bird or something like that. Right. So I had to kind of remind myself again, like to just say, screw it, start, just posting what you love or what, um, I had to knock that perfectionism out of the part. Like I just had to get rid of that. I mean, I still struggle with it, but I had to get back to that where it's like, do it for you. So I'm so happy you mentioned that, shoot what you love. Just don't care what anybody else thinks.
Totally. And like I'm right there with you. Like I haven't been sharing a whole lot on my main landscape account lately. And it's not that I don't have a bunch of images to share. It's just that they're not images that are up to the level that I have put the expectation on.
On yourself.
Yeah.
100%. That's what it is.
But, a few people have said, and I think it's really important to remember that social media is not our portfolio. If you want to see my best work in my portfolio, go to my website. And that's where I showcase the best of the best of the best of my work.
That's right.
And we can use our social media to be a bit more freer once we can get over that ourselves of, it's okay to post some images that, and quite frankly, like a lot of the images that I haven't shared, they're wonderful, great images. I think also I'm falling out of with social media. And I'm over that grind. And
I was just thinking that it's such a grind. It is like having to get up every morning and like I used to use like a Hootsuite, like you kind of plan your posts and all this kind of stuff. And then I got away from that, and it was just like getting up in the like I know what you mean, like trying to figure out like if you really get into it, certain times, certain days, certain images, like. And I actually got into that right where, so here's a good example. My account was primarily bears in the beginning. Okay. Black bears, grizzly bears, polar bears, that kind of stuff. Right. And my following grew fast, and, these images will get thousands of likes. Right. Okay. So it was like, I was kind of known as a bear photography account, but then I started to broaden my portfolio, and things started to drop. Like it was like, because people started to follow me based on that, right? And like it was just, it's funny how social media works. But again, you have to just kind of break away from all that and just shoot what you love and post what you love, and don't really worry about all that social media stuff, the grind, the trying to please everybody, and to get those extra likes and all that kind of crap, right? It's just like, I'm close to being done with it too, man. Like, I mean, it's, I'll still do it 100%, but it's just, maybe not as much anymore. Like I'm posting maybe 2 or 3 times a week now, maybe 4, whereas it was like every day, maybe twice a day.
I'm like once a month now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we get so caught up in that, but the algorithms are designed specifically for us to experience failure through the algorithms. Like I have my wildlife account and it just cracked 700 followers, and I will consistently get over 200 likes on each photo that I post on that account. So like that percentage is insane.
Right.
That's huge. Yeah. That's very high.
On my landscape account, I have 13,500 followers, and I get about the same amount of likes as I do on the account with 700.
How does that make sense?
Yeah,
exactly. And it's because the higher you get, the more Instagram thinks that you want to have that engagement. So you're going to be more inclined to pay. You're going to be more inclined to play their game.
Right.
And this is what's grinding us all out, is like we're trying to keep up with the games that are fixed against us. And I just don't want to do it anymore. So, I'm kind of looking at really changing the way that I post this year, and maybe going the route of guys like Mark Adamus or Alex Noriega, who are, 2 just incredible landscape photographers. And they only post like quarterly. And I'm kind of thinking that, and it's just like, I've got some incredible images that I'm holding on to, but I don't think that I'm going to post until early May. And I'm only going to post my top 10 or 15 images in that, and over a 2-week period. And then I'll just disappear to the next quarter.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Interesting. I'd be curious to see how Instagram reacts to that,
Yeah, I mean, I think the followers will react well to it, but I think the algorithms will absolutely crucify me.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because I was just looking today. It's an elk photo that's got I'm at 11, just over 11K for followers, right? 389 likes or something like that. And and 2 years ago, when I was probably at easily half that same similar elk photo, like 1,500 likes or something ridiculous like that. Like I've got some bear photos that are over 8,000 likes.
Yeah.
Yet I'll post another bear photo. I'd be lucky if I break 300.
Yeah.
With more than double the following. So how does that make sense?
And it's they're doing that on purpose. They're doing it to drive us to make short form content videos. They're driving us to TikTok style.
Yeah. Well, that's it. They want to be TikTok.
It's no longer a photo sharing app, right?
Exactly. And I, again, all the power to the photographers who have the time, the inclination, and the desire to want to do that. I don't. So I'm not going to play that anymore. And,
good for you. Yeah.
I'm going to post when I want, how I want.
Do it on your own terms.
Right. And not have to just be a slave to I got to feed the beast every day. I have to be there every day to feed the beast and to sit there for the first hour and respond to every comment to make sure that it gets over a certain amount so that it continues to perpetuate.
Well, and that's what it is. And it was funny because the one photo today was like 2 days after, and I finally responded to the comments 2 days after, which is a huge no-no because every time the comment pops up, you're supposed to, because like you said, if you get so many comments and replies within the first hour or 2 hours, then it boosts your photo. I guess people see it more. And here's me like 2 days, 3 days, 5 days later. Oh, hey, thanks for the, and it's like, it's not helping anything other than the engagement with, your followers, right? Which is, I think, more important than trying to get them all in to get to wherever, whatever Instagram wants, right? So
yeah, I mean, my growth has absolutely stagnated on Instagram. It's just my account has been stuck at 13.5 for a year, and it's just
I lost 200 followers. I was at 11.3 and I'm down to 11.1.
Hopefully they were just bots that got cleaned out.
Yeah. What did I do that was wrong? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, but it's like, you just, I don't know. I just, stuff like this, your conference, talking to real people, making those connections. I think that's where it's at.
I agree. And that's, again, through all of the years that I've been putting on the toy and comic book shows, it's the connection to community and seeing people being able to get out and do stuff with their friends that has made it so worthwhile. And to bring that into a nature photography arena is really exciting. And I used to, when I first started getting into photography and first started getting to know a bunch of people in Alberta and the photography community and the scene and stuff like that, and making some good friendships. We started to do little things like that because that's just my nature. And I'd be like, okay, let's get 10 of us together. And we're all going to go on a trip to Jasper. And so we'd go and we'd have these sort of photo get-togethers and group trips, and they were a blast. And so for me, this is kind of an evolution of some of those early trips that we used to do, and create something that people can rally around and, have a lot of fun at, enjoy, learn, meet people, and just, engage in whatever aspect of it that they want.
That's awesome.
Like you said, it's nice to get put a face to the name, meet people in person. Because you and I actually, we met in the field. We both had our lenses, and I didn't recognize you, but stopped, said hi. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, you're Shane. Oh, okay. Like, it's just one of those things, and that's what's going to be awesome about this conference. Is that, hopefully we won't all be wearing masks, so we can't recognize anybody anyways, but that's what's going to be nice about this, all these people you follow and getting to meet them. Right. So,
I mean, I'm going to have badges for everybody with their names on them, and I'm going to encourage everybody to put their Instagram name on there as well. You can recognize one another through our Instagram names if they're not the same, right? So
no, 100%. So no, that's awesome. Well, you know what, Shane, we think we're going to wrap things up here, but we really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Really appreciate being here, man.
Being very candid about everything. So we're absolutely stoked to be promoting your conference too. We're going to have all the links and everything in the video below, right, for YouTube, and this goes out on the podcast channel too through Buzzsprout and on the
Apple and Spotify,
Apple, all that kind of stuff too. So hopefully you'll get a good listen for the conference, and I mean, I don't even know what else to say. This was awesome. Appreciate you being our first.
I'm absolutely honored to be you guys first. This was a lot of fun, and I'm honored to have you speaking at the event as well, Joe.
Oh,
I think
appreciate it.
Bring a wonderful perspective to the conference too, and
awesome. Thanks.
Really enjoy. I really enjoyed this. Again, this is all what we can expect from the conference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just happy I was the first buyer. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Well, guys, we're going to wrap things up here. Again, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will catch you in the next video.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Visit YouTube and subscribe to our channel to watch all our latest videos. Or follow and listen to our latest podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.